Welcome to Imagine Wealth Without Risk, the podcast that guides you to fulfilling your dreams through guaranteed, secure investing. Here's your host, Ted Thomas.
Welcome back to Imagine Wealth Without Risk, everyone. We're glad to have you here. And I love to talk about tax lien certificates and tax defaulted property and tax deeds and so on. But just as importantly, I like to talk about building wealth and building a business. And boy, we're lucky today because we have a real entrepreneur on the phone with us, on the line, I should say. His name is Dave Lukas. I'm not going to stand here and give you a lot of information about him that I'm reading from a long list because he's going to do a better job at that. But you're going to love the name of his podcast. You're just going to love this name. It's called The Misfit Entrepreneur. So, Dave, are you on the line? Can I hear you out there?
I am. It's great to be with you and great to be with everybody in the audience.
Okay, we're glad to have you. And tell us about you and The Misfit Entrepreneur.
Oh, geez, where should I start? So
a little about you would be a good place, but
sure. Lifelong entrepreneur. I started my first business when I was 5. No joke. It's a good story. I'll tell you guys. When I was 5 years old, I looked at my mom and told her that I wanted to make some money. And so we came up with this idea for me to make American flags and go sell them to the neighbors. So imagine this little 5-year-old gets out the construction paper, spends hours making all these American flags, and then starts down the road in his little red radio flyer wagon and 100% close rate, right? Every door, 5-10 cents a flag, cutest little kid. But it was like taking candy from a baby, as they say, right?
Really?
So I get all the way to the final house on the block. And this is the house that's the darker house. The shades are usually down. You don't see the people out a lot. It's that house. So I muster up the confidence to go to the door and knock on the door. And it seems like an eternity. It was probably like 5 seconds, but it seemed like an eternity. And this nice little older lady answers the door. And I do my little spiel. I'm selling American flags. And deadpan, she looks at me and she goes, "No, thank you, honey. We're Canadian." And slams the door in my face.
Oh, jeez. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness.
So that was my first lesson in rejection. And so not to be outdone, though, went home, made a Canadian flag, took it back and sold it to her. So
you did not. You went back and made a Canadian flag? Oh, yeah. How did you get that idea? Oh, that's unbelievable.
I said the lady wanted a Canadian flag. So we figured out what that was, made one, and took it back.
Oh, my goodess. Great stuff. Great stuff. So you started young. I've heard about the guys. They all come up with this story about how they were delivering newspapers. You're selling. A lot of people are terrified of selling.
I think actually you hear that a lot. People say that a lot. I disagree with that. I think selling is one of the most innate abilities that we have as human beings. It's literally every day we're selling. We just don't realize it, right? When you are sharing an idea with somebody and telling them the benefits of the idea, you're selling them on it. When you're a guy or a girl trying to get the guy or the girl to go out with you on a date, you're selling yourself.
Yeah.
So it's something that I think is actually just incredibly innate to us as human beings. It's just whether we recognize it or not and really hone that skill in our lives. Right?
Yeah.
So,
I think everybody's just afraid of the rejection. I think that's they feel like they're doing a good job, but when someone says no, we all like yes. Everybody likes yes, but sometimes you have to get about 10 to 15 of those no's before you get the yes. But you earn them. That's the thing. You have to grow to get to the yes. And I think that's what the challenge is.
Absolutely. Yeah. And some of that stems from, anybody's heard me speak before has heard me talk about the conditioned mind and how we're conditioned to be who we are. Parents, friends, family, media, religion, all those things shape us. Somebody comes out of the womb and they say, "Hey, beautiful baby, too bad they'll never make more than 35,000. It's not like your path is predetermined and set. You're shaped in how you think and how you react to things and the responses that you have to things in life. And one of the things that happens, and I'm guilty of it too. I've got a 7-year-old. We hear a lot of no. We hear no more than we hear yes. And we crave that yes. We crave that feeling of acceptance and stuff like that as we grow older. And so we shy away from the no's because we spend our youth hearing it so much and being told it so much, right? So it's a natural thing. But the most important thing to understand about that is that every no from a sales aspect gets you closer to a yes. So I think that's important.
Exactly. You mentioned something that you have a 7-year-old, and I read in your bio that so you must have adopted a young lady in China. Did you do that?
Yeah, Hannah's adopted from China. In fact, I give the rest of my story. So, went on through, I sold my first business before high school, went on into direct sales through college. I played football in college. I made something that I could pay for college with and be able to manage around the hectic schedule of all that. Came out of college, took a company to market in Columbus, Ohio. I would say failed pretty miserably. By the end of the first year, I had an income of about $1,000 a month and was working 2 other jobs to make ends meet. But it was one of the best experiences of my life, learning what to do and what not to do in building a business, working with people and all that sort of thing. And so I then spent about 6 years in the Fortune 500 space, and all the while investing in trying other things. And that's something that I think is a really important thing for anybody listening from an entrepreneurship standpoint. I think everybody thinks that you just have to burn the boats and go right into entrepreneurship with an idea or whatever. And I actually am a big fan of, I think the term's been coined, chicken entrepreneurship, right? If you got a job, job's a great base for you to test different things off of and build your business on the side till it gets to a point where it makes sense. And that's essentially what I did. I invested in a company while I was in the Fortune 500 space and helped guide it and that sort of thing as best I could. And it got big enough to a point where I could leave the Fortune 500 space and go full go in it, right? And that company's Grasp Technologies, and it's an Inc. 5000 5-time company, and we do business in about 100 countries nowadays, right? It was a great experience to go through that. And then along the way, started several hundred other entities, and the podcast actually being one of them. And the podcast came about when we did adopt Hannah from China. I came home and I had written a book in the about 2009, 2010 timeframe that was a bestseller at the time called The 10-Year Career. And it was about some of the things we're talking about today, things that I had learned on how to put yourself on the fast track from the get-go or get on it if you aren't there. And I was fortunate. I got to meet with several billionaires. I got to work directly with people like Zig Ziglar and Brian Tracy. And in fact, Brian wrote the cover blurb for the book. And I found myself with this little one, even at 18 months old. That's about how old she was when we brought her home. All these teachable moments were bubbling up. And going back to the conditioning side of things, as we talked about, I'm keenly aware to that. I'm keenly aware that I'm conditioning her from the moment she's in my arms in a way. And so I was amazed at all these scenarios coming up where these things would trigger in my mind that I'd seemingly forgotten, these wonderful lessons, these amazing pieces of knowledge or advice, even phrases. Zig Ziglar was famous for some of the best just down-home phrases that made sense and made it easy to understand things and things like that. And I said to myself, gosh, there's got to be a way to immortalize this type of information so that Hannah can learn from her daddy and his misfit friends. And that's how it all started. As I thought about it, I thought, every entrepreneur's a misfit. Wow. If we weren't, we'd all be the same. And everybody is got this misfit side to them. And I think, people look at that word in a negative light. And I think it's actually an incredibly positive word, right? It's the uniqueness. It's the unique genius that everybody has. And so the goal was to set aside a treasure trove of information for Hannah to have when she grows older that hopefully she listens to and takes great things from and helps her in her life.
So what did you do? You start recording it? Did you put it somewhere? Where is it?
Yeah, it's at misfitentrepreneur.com and then on every single medium that podcasts are on. It's a big show now. It's 130 countries and 100,000 downloads a month and all that fun stuff. But it's
wonderful.
It's really just, for me, you talk about like strong whys and stuff. I have my why, and it's for her. I do it regardless of anybody listening. So it's started as a side project, it's turned into its own large business nowadays. It's been pretty interesting.
Wow. Let me ask you a couple of questions that are a little unique, probably. First one is, did you work with Brian Tracy closely, or did you work on the side? Did you do anything with him? I've always admired him. He wrote one of the great sales books of all time.
A lot of great sales books, yeah. No, I closely, I think, is a relative term. I've played in the sphere with a lot of the people that he's worked with, people that have done a lot of his funnel work and that sort of thing over the years and stuff like that. So we met through that sort of thing, got to know each other back then. It's been a little while since I've talked to him. He's gone on to do even bigger things now. But during that time, we got somewhat close to where he would actually do the cover blurb of the book and actually help me with some of the insights for the book and stuff at the time. So,
well, he must have admired you to do that. So good for you. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I just know that most people don't know that he's written some great work on sales, really down to earth kind of thing that the average person could use every day. And I was always amazed.
His closing book is an excellent book.
Yeah, and some of his chapters were 50 pages. 50 pages of number 4 font is a lot of words. And he did some excellent work on that. Yeah, okay, that was good. Okay, so tell me a little bit about Grasp Technologies, and I'd love to hear a little bit more about that. And then maybe we can even talk. A lot of my people like to talk about real estate even, but there's no hurry to get to that. We got plenty of time.
We can talk about real estate and the stock market, actually, because that's another whole business side that I own. Grasp we can cover real quick. It's one of those things that you never know what you're going to get into in the entrepreneur world, right? You think you're going one direction, you end up in another. And so I met the founder, my business partner, Eric Mueller of Grasp, back in 2004. And at the time, Grasp really was more of a holding company or unique software products for the travel industry around managing data and visualizing data. And in talking to Eric, I could really see the passion that he had and the understanding and experience he had. He'd been in the industry since the late 80s. And so I knew that the products were solid and what he was wanting to do was solid. He just needed help putting the business around it and needed help from a sales aspect. And I had that background. So we basically looked at each other and say, hey, we'll give this a shot and don't know how it'll end up. Let's see how it goes. And so we did that. I invested in the company. I was the only investor ever. The whole company since then has been built from cash flow. We don't have any debt or anything. And we built this thing up to being the largest provider of business intelligence and data management solutions and software for the travel industry at this point. So it's been an amazing ride and just, it's amazing the people that you get to meet and bring in along the way. I used to be involved in everything in the company as entrepreneurs are in the beginning. And it's amazing how many great people we found to really help this company go to its next levels and continue to. I really believe, and I think anybody listening to this from a business standpoint, if you're trying to build a business or if you have one and you're trying to get to the next level, I will tell you that you're only as good as your weakest link. And what I mean by that is your systems and your infrastructure are very important. And the last thing that most entrepreneurs, especially in fast-growing businesses, we grow at over 100% a year for over a decade. And so when you're drinking from a fire hose like that, the last thing you want to do is the little things, right? Documenting this. Do we have a good hiring process?
Yeah. You leave a lot of gaps.
All those things that's the gold, and it's the stuff you don't want to do. And so if I can give you as an entrepreneur and business owner, some of the best advice I could ever give you is don't neglect the little things. The little things make the biggest difference. Right. And your systems and your processes are key to you being able to grow and scale, because if you don't have those dialed in, you can't hand duties off to new people and have them be able to take over, jump in and be able to take things and run with it. And then the next person and so on.
Okay. Now hold on. I'm going to hold your feet in the fire here. Okay. You're giving us really good advice. Now slow down and give us how you learned that. What should they do to learn that? If they're going to be a good entrepreneur, that's a major undertaking. You can't leave out the details. I agree with you. What did you do that they should do?
Hi, everyone. I would love to know what you guys think of this week's episode on Imagine Wealth Without Risk. So make sure you leave a rating and a review to let me know.
We were forced by necessity. We woke up one day and realized we were 2 weeks from going out of business from a cash flow standpoint.
Oh, Jesus.
And we said, how can we be growing at the way that we're growing and everything and be selling all this stuff and everything and be in this position? And it was because we had poor systems. We had poor infrastructure. We had no hiring process. It was like, oh, you want to work for us? Okay, great. Here's the seat over there. Figure it out. And so for us, we were forced to basically slow down. And so what we did is we figured out how to get through that hump, that cash crunch. We called clients, took care of things, got payments that were due, all that stuff that had to be done. We got through that. And then we sat down with our team and we basically said, hey, all right, we're going to purposely slow down. Okay, we're growing at over 100% a year. We slowed down to about a 30% growth a year, which sounds like a lot. But when you slow down from 100 miles an hour to 30, it's a big difference. And we spent 15 months working on every little thing we could find, documenting it, processing it, testing it, and everything else to get it to where it was in the right place. And this was about, six years ago. But it was something that we could have been doing a lot earlier along the way and saved ourselves that headache.
Did you bring in consultants to help you, or you just do it? You guys figured it all out yourself?
We had an informal board of people, former CEOs of companies that worked with Walmart and stuff like that, helped us, guide us some. We really figured out a lot of it on our own. A lot of personal growth, a lot of finding books, reading them and stuff like that. And just simplifying too. I think people make things a lot more complicated than they have to be in business and investing, and simplifying it and just saying, okay, what are the specific things we need to do? And then eating that elephant one bite at a time. In fact, I interviewed Tom Ziegler on the podcast a year ago, and I asked him, I said, what's the surest path to success? And he said, simplest path to success, and for me, this was fairly profound. The simplest path to success was replace a bad habit with a good habit. And if you think about that, I think a lot of people totally overestimate what they can do in a week and underestimate what they can do in a year. And as I thought about, that's exactly what we did. We'd find a bad habit. We'd put the right habit in place, get that solidified, move on to the next one. And over the course of a year, 15 months, we made a dramatic turnaround in the business. And I think it's the same thing. I think people stare at that whole elephant instead of just the little piece they need to nibble at, get that done, move on to the next one, and so on, right? And we live in this, the other side of it's the long game.
Yeah.
We live in the...
People tune in and out on these podcasts. Give us how we can contact you on your podcast, and then we'll continue.
Sure. Yeah. So you can find me. You can go to the misfitentrepreneur.com. I'm on all of the social media as either Misfit Entrepreneur or Dave Lukas. That's Lukas with a K, Lukas. I'm pretty active.
And you did say the word misfit, right? One word, misfit.
Correct. Misfitentrepreneur.com.
Okay. You say it so fast I don't even get it, but that's good. So that I just know you're going. Your brain's going 100 miles an hour, but your mouth will only go 40 or 50, right?
Yes, that's always true on these. Trying to get as much in for your audience as I can.
Okay, this is really interesting stuff. So you grow in this business 30, 50, and it's even a mistake. You didn't say that, but I did. To go at 100% a year because you can't keep up with it. Right? Your brain won't keep up, the body won't keep up, and more importantly, you don't have employees to help you along. Or
it's just you can grow like that. You just have to have the systems that can keep up with it. Nowadays, we can grow and scale like that. We couldn't back then. We almost crushed ourselves.
That's amazing. And so what do you do other than this business? Do you have a lot of hobbies? Do you have a lot of things that you like to do beside that? I find that people that grow businesses also do lots of other things. What are the other things you do?
Yeah, I'm actually a pretty big Ironmaner. So I race Ironmans. And anybody doesn't know what an Ironman is, it's probably the world's most grueling one-day race. It's a 2.4 mile swim followed by a 112-mile bike ride followed by a marathon.
Whoa. I know what it is because I actually lived in Hawaii for a while. And they do the west side of the big island. Against all that wind. I just can't imagine riding a bike against all that wind. But anyway, yeah. And how long does an Ironman, do you call it Ironman race or marathon? What do you call it?
No, it's an Ironman, not a marathon, right? It typically, depending on, times can vary, right? So like a winner of an Ironman these days is going to be in that 8-hour range. Those are the top pros and everybody are going to be in that range. I am not a pro. Yeah. I'm actually about the top 20% for my age group. So I'm in that 12-hour range on a good day. On a bad day, I'm 13 or 14 hours. But for me, each race has got its own uniqueness to it. They're in different places all over the world, different elements, different environments. Sure. And so each time I do it, I learn something. The thing I love most about it is not so much the physical aspect, but the mental aspect that it takes. To
go that long with that much pain takes a lot of mental. That's for sure. Wow, yeah. Amazing. Wow. And
I find that helps me in business too.
Because you can work harder than everybody else.
Or when you're up against a wall, you built the mental fortitude through doing these other things that can help you get through it.
So you have the strength and the power to continue when others drop out. Mm-hmm. Amazing. No wonder you've had such great success. Again, the title to your podcast?
The Misfit Entrepreneur.
Okay, great. Do you invest in real estate?
I do. Been investing for about 20 years.
Really? Oh, tell me about that.
Yeah. So for me, I am a cash flow buy and hold guy. I love collecting cash flow and reaping especially in real estate, the tax benefits of it. Yeah. And so just started years ago buying and holding. Started with, I used to, before 2008, before things blew up, I had a really good run with home builders. I would actually buy their model homes and then lease them back to them. Smart. So you guys have seen any development always has that model at the front, and it's usually a really nice home, right? Because they put a lot of options and upgrades and stuff into it. And so I would negotiate with the builders to buy that home essentially at a discount because they're just carrying it. They build it at cost. They're just carrying it on the books. So I would buy it at a discount, and then I would turn around and rent it back to them at a decent amount that covered all the expenses and put a nice profit in my pocket. And then when they were done with the neighborhood or done with the model, I'd turn around and sell it. So I'd get a few years of it and then appreciation in it and that sort of thing. After 2008, it's a lot harder to do that. They don't do that as much anymore. But so I did that for a while and then got into nowadays, there's a couple types of investments that I do. I do larger investments with groups that are building like apartment complexes and things like that where they're looking for investors to help fund it, but you own a piece of the property as part of your investment based upon the amount that you give, basically like a share, if you will. But you're on it just like you would be if you own the property. So you get the tax benefits and everything. And then, when they sell, you get a piece of the profits on that and everything. So I like those. And then fully managed resort property. So not a huge cash flow on the fully managed resort property, but nice appreciation over time. And so I look at things like that. So we've got places at ski resorts and different things around the world.
I completely like what you talked about on the second one, where you're building value. When you build value is what you do, and that's pretty exciting. What did you say the last one was?
So the last one's fully managed.
Resort property. Okay, good. I didn't hear the resort part of it. Okay, good. So in both cases, you're building value. That's amazing. That's really good that you tied into that part of the real estate market. Most people don't want to do that. The insurance companies do, and the big funds want to do that because those are really long-term hold things. So that's. But
you also reap the benefits tax-wise and everything from it. We can get into carryover and all that fun stuff if you want to, and how that benefits you.
No, let's not do that because they're driving. We don't put everybody to sleep. The accountants will all stay awake, but the rest of us will go to sleep. Oh my goodness, talk about whether it's a capital gain or whether it's ordinary income. Yeah, I get it. They can learn that on the next podcast. But we're really doing great stuff here. Let me ask you a couple of questions before we conclude it. And where are you going with this is one. And now that you're really into it, you're a very young man and you've got a great future in front of you. Tell me how you got into it and where you're going with all this.
With all this is a big term, right? At this point, Grass Technologies, we've got a great management team in place. It continues to grow and continues to be able to evolve. And as that does that, I don't need to be in that as much. So I put more time into the podcast. I put a lot of time into my trading and investing education business. So I took a lot of what I learned in real estate and applied that to the markets and created a unique way of investing in the markets that I work with the Raging Bull Group. I don't know if you've heard of them before, but they're one of the top investor education companies. And we've got some solutions through them that I put out and share. And for me, that's been a lot of fun, helping people attain their financial independence or put them on the path with some unique strategies that they can do that really takes, I guess I've coined the term, less than 10 minutes a day. And for me, that's been a lot of fun. So we've got that. We've got a few other things to continue to look for and buy real estate as we go. But we've built the machines around these and we want to just keep them going.
Okay, I get it. So you're just going to keep growing. You're on a growth track and you want to just keep it doing that. What do you tell starting investors? Where do you tell them to start? Do they start with rental properties like you did with those builder homes, or what do you think?
Starting investors in real estate or starting investors in the market? They're two totally different things.
Yeah, thanks. I'm glad you clarified that because everybody was which one was talking about. Yeah, I'm an ex-stock market investor, but I'm a big-time real estate investor. So Could you talk? My title to this is Imagine Wealth Without Risk, and I'm really a tax lien and deed guy. Mm-hmm. And I've been doing that and I've written books on it and whatever for the past 25 years. So I'm almost your opposite in the sense that I try to teach people buy it low and sell it low and get the cash. Mm-hmm. Buy it low so that they can grow because those are the people that are attracted to this. But you have a whole different investment philosophy here. And so I'd love to hear what your recommendations are on real estate investing.
So for me, you're talking about some of the same things. There's some very specific rules to real estate, right? So everybody knows locations. You want to be in a good location area. And I'll tell you, a great place that is to be is, I'm in Columbus, Ohio. So we have Ohio State University right down in Columbus, right?
Franklin County. I know it well.
Franklin County, yes. There's lots of good tax lien opportunities there.
Yes, they're
plenty. What I started out doing, and this may not be for everybody, is I would buy a condo and I would live in it for a year.
Yeah.
And then I would rent it.
Sure.
Right. And then I'd move on to the next one. And I did that strategically about 10, 15 minutes from Ohio State. So not on campus. I don't, that sort of thing. The people that I focused on were the professors or the grad students, young professional, that sort of thing. So I situated myself in higher end like condo community.
They weren't partying all the time. I get it.
So that is the strategy that I use to get off the ground. Now, if you're not in a position to do that, you can still invest in those and you make money when you buy, right? So my formula is 100-10-3-1. You look at 100 properties, you narrow it down to 10, you put offers on 3, you ultimately buy 1. And if you get with a good realtor or something like that, you can easily do that. Give them the criteria. You want to buy $1 for 50 cents or as close to it as you can be. And there's always opportunities out there, no matter what type of market there is, as long as you're willing to have the patience for them to come along. Don't invest just to invest. Even though you maybe have capital sitting there that you want to deploy, don't deploy it just to deploy it. It's the same thing that investors and traders make in the markets. They got money sitting there and they can't take it. So they throw it in the market and it's not a good time, or they're not following their rules, or they're not following the right investment strategies, and they lose it. So don't trade to trade. Don't invest to invest. Be patient and find the one as you go through it. Look at a lot of properties, get to know the area really well, and you'll find that one. And then when you rent it, there's a lot of ways to do it. I use Craigslist. Still works great. What I do for every property,
you're right.
What I do for every property is I actually create an own little mini website for it, with the amenities and pictures and everything, so it showcases really nice. And then that's what I throw up on Craigslist, and people see that, and they can actually send us a link right through that website that I'm interested in the property, and we go from there. Those are a few things that we do that are a little different.
Okay. I'm running out of time. I got 1 minute left. Remind everybody how to listen to your podcast, and then any final words you'd like to button it up with.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can always listen to The Misfit Entrepreneur across iTunes, across all the different podcast channels, iHeartRadio, all that. Or you can just go to our website, www.misfitentrepreneur.com. Final advice, I think, in some of the most important advice, we have got this concept that we call the Misfit 3. At the end of every episode of The Misfit Entrepreneur, we always phrase it to a guest as if you were going to leave this earth tomorrow, what are the most important pieces of wisdom that you would leave behind for the generations to come after you? And so that's what the Misfit 3 are. So my 3 are, number 1, love unconditionally. No matter what happens, forgive and love unconditionally. And it's one of the great things that we have the power to do. Don't let that power go to waste. The second thing is what I call DCP. And DCP stands for discipline, consistency, and persistence. Now you hear those 3 things and it's duh. Right? Those are all needed to succeed, right? But what do they actually mean? So discipline is doing the things that you know you need to do even when you don't want to do them. Consistency is doing that day in and day out without fail. You can be disciplined for one day, but that's not going to do it for you. You got to do it every day. And even when you do it and you're disciplined and you're consistent, you're going to hit major barriers, plateaus in your life. And if you're not willing to persist for them, that's where you're going to stay and be stagnant. And that's where you're going to end up, and you're not going to be able to go to your next level. So you have to have that fortitude and that will to persist through. So that's the second. And then the third thing I will tell you is that you need to learn to live from true choice. As I mentioned earlier, we're conditioned in a lot of ways to be who we are, and a lot of the things that we're conditioned with are great. But there are some things, ways that we think, things that we say, things that we do that are automatic responses in our lives that we don't even realize or think about. And they just happen. And they can be debilitating to our success or even our relationships and things like that. And so learning to recognize what those things are, and then asking yourself if they truly are you, or if you want to act a different way or be a different way in those scenarios, is one of the greatest personal power exercises you'll ever do for yourself. So learn to live from true choice.
Wow. You're a powerful speaker. Great information. I want to thank you and say your podcast one more time as you leave.
Absolutely. And thank you. And thank you to all in the audience for listening. The podcast is The Misfit Entrepreneur.
Thank you for joining us today. Go to tedthomas.com to learn how you can start making smart, secure investments today. Be sure to check out the rest of the episode to find out more about Imagine Wealth Without Risk.